कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यशोदानन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यमुनातिरावन चारी जय कुंज विहारी जय यमुना तीरावन चारी जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जगन्नाथाय जय बलदेवाय जय सुभद्रमैया जय हो सुदर्शन जय गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर जय गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर जय गौरांगी बेंगलोरेश्वर जय गौरांगी जय लक्ष्मी नरसिम्हा जय हो अनंत देव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय हो प्रहलाद महाराज। जय वामन देव जय वामन देव, वामन देव जय हो वामन देव। जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन, जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन। जय शालिग्राम जय शालिग्राम, जय हो शालिग्राम। जय हो निताई चैतन्य जय निताई चैतन्य, जय निताई चैतन्य जय गौर हरि। जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय हो गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव, जय जय गुरुदेव। निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन बीबीटी संस्थापकाचार्य जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य लीला पृष्ठ जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace भक्ति स्थान सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। भक्ति प्रदायिनी श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोप गोपिका राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई सुदर्शन चक्र की जय। जय श्री श्री नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जय श्री श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। जय श्री श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री द्वारकाधीश धाम की जय। श्री श्री साकेत अयोध्यापुरी धाम की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद ट्रांसीडेंटल बुक्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज हरे कृष्णा। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज हरे कृष्णा। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज हरे कृष्णा। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु and श्री गौरंगा। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर सितनाथ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतिरुत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome all of you in today's morning session of Srimad Bhagavatam. On behalf of ISKCON Seshadripuram, I welcome all the devotees. And in today's session, we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3rd, and Canto 3rd. And here in Canto 3rd, we are going to read from, excuse me, from 32nd chapter, 3rd Canto, and 32nd verse. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen, so you can tell me whether you are able to view my screen or not. I'm just sharing. It's just not. Let me know once you are able to view it. So here in this chapter today, as I told that we are going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3rd, 32nd chapter. And in 32nd chapter, we are going to read from 32nd verse. ज्ञानयोगश्च मनिष्ठो निर्गुण्यो भक्तिलक्षण द्वयोरप्येक एवार्थो भगवच्छ शब्दलक्षणः ज्ञानयोगश्च मनिष्ठो निर्गुण्यो भक्तिलक्षण द्वयोरप्येक एवार्थो भगवच्छब्दलक्षणः ज्ञानयोगश्च मनिष्ठो निर्गुण्यो भक्तिलक्षण द्वे द्वयोरप्येक एवार्थो भगवच्छब्दलक्षणः. Synonyms, translation and the purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So synonyms goes like Jnana Yoga, philosophical research, cha, and Mata Nishtaha, directed towards me, Niragunya, free from the materials modes of nature, Bhakti, devotional service, Lakshanaha, named Dvayoha, of both, Api, moreover, Ekaha, one, Eva, certainly, Arthaha, purpose, Bhagavad, the supreme personality of Godhead, Shabda, by the word, Lakshana, signified. Translation is philosophical research culminates in understanding the supreme personality of Godhead. After achieving this understanding, when one becomes free from the material modes of nature, he attains the stage of devotional service. Either by devotional service directly or by philosophical research, one has to find the same destination, which is the supreme personality of Godhead. The purport is, it is said in Bhagavad Gita that after many, many lives of philosophical research, the wise man ultimately comes to the point of knowing that Vasudeva, the supreme personality of Godhead, is everything. And therefore, he surrenders unto him. Such serious students in philosophical research are rare because they are very great souls. If by philosophical research one cannot come to the point of understanding the Supreme Person, then his task is not finished. His search in knowledge is still to be continued until he comes to the point of understanding the Supreme Lord in devotional service. The opportunity for direct touch with the personality of God is given in Bhagavad Gita, where it is also said that those who take to the other processes, namely the process of philosophical speculation and mystic yoga practice, have much trouble. After many, many years of trouble, a yogi or wise philosopher may come to him, but his path is very troublesome. Whereas the path of devotional service is easy for everyone. One can achieve the result of wise philosophical speculation simply by discharging devotional service. And unless one reaches the point of understanding the, the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his mental speculation, all his research work is said to be simply a labor of love. The ultimate destination of the wise philosopher is to merge in the impersonal Brahman, but the Brahman is the effulgence of the Supreme Person. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 14.27, Brahmano hi pratishtham Amritasya avyayascha. I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is indestructible and is the supreme bliss. The Lord is supreme, reservoir of all pleasure, including Brahman pleasure. Therefore, one who has unflinching faith in the supreme personality of Godhead is said to be already realized in impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरकसे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्त शक्तिकम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। So once again, I welcome you all in today's Srimad Bhagavad morning session. And as I told you that today we are going to read from third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Status Quo. And under that, we are going to read 32nd chapter, Glories of Devotional Service. And under that chapter, we are going to read from text number 8, text number 32, named uh, text number 32. And as I spoke in the beginning, that this is the glories of devotional service. The chapter is entitled as. And in the 32nd verse, once again, we are going to read the translation, which is philosophical research culminates in understanding the supreme personality of Godhead. After achieving this understanding, when one becomes free from the material modes of nature, he attains the stage of devotional service. Either by devotional service directly or by philosophical research, one has to find the same destination, which is the supreme personality of Godhead. So this is very important verse in terms of understanding that how different philosophical branches and their practices ultimately culminates into the understanding of supreme personality of God. And as Prabhupada was saying in the purport, that if one, after practicing those philosophical, you know, processes, after doing all this kind of philosophical research, if one doesn't actually get into the understanding of supreme personality of Godhead, and all those, effort that he has made is nothing but love of labor. So this is very important to understand that how these philosophical researches actually culminates into the understanding of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here actually, if you see the devotional service, here actually, if you see, I mean, in this particular verse and this whole chapter is actually describing that devotional service is the highest spiritual destination, right? And until unless we come to this conclusion that yes, the devotional service is the highest spiritual destination, then we cannot actually, understand the devotional service in its true nature, right? Because this is what Lord is actually prescribing all of us. And here, especially in this, if you see in this particular chapter, right, the Kapil Muni is actually, just telling his mother about the devotional service, the glories of devotional service, basically. And this chapter, the whole chapter is actually, on the glories of devotional service. And here, actually, Lord Kapila, establishing the supremacy of devotional service over all the yogic processes, all other karma kandas and whatnot, right? So once it so happened that I heard in one lecture that, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, actually, met one sadhu, and that sadhu was actually, very austere. But as you know, that in most of times, actually, if you see that, these sadhus basically, in particularly, I mean, obviously in India, actually, if you see, they will be having, saffron robe and wearing all those signs that they are actually brahmacharis or sannyasis, right? But they follow impersonal, philosophy and believe in impersonal Brahman. And so Bhakticharya Swami Maharaj met that sannyasi, and that sannyasi actually questioned that why you are following, this devotional service, because this is not the ultimate aim. The ultimate aim to merge into the supreme effulgence or the Brahma Jyoti, right? So when Maharaj actually heard this, then Maharaj actually gave him so many arguments and he established that, this is the Supreme Personalities God as service is the ultimate aim of the living entity. And if one doesn't actually come to this platform, then everything is futile. So when he establishes that, and then actually again he, argued that, you have to accept, that the Brahma Jyoti effulging, or I mean, the effulgence of Supreme God or Brahma Jyoti. So merging into Brahma Jyoti is the supreme destination. So Maharaj said that, "Yeah, I can accept this argument, but you have to tell me that if it is superior argument, right? If it is give me something superior, then only I will accept it. Otherwise, I won't." And again, actually, Maharaj gave so many references from the scripture and established that the Supreme Personality Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna's devotional service, Krishna's bhakti is the supreme most. And then actually understood that sannyasi actually understood that this is the supreme. Then he actually, he was having all this beard and, jata and whatnot. So he actually, shaved off and he actually accepted the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, and he become, follower of ISKCON. So it's very important that, we present the philosophy correctly, and we actually is not in the mood of defeating anyone, but just to serve the Lord and to tell everyone that devotional service of the Lord is the supreme most, right? So when we do that, actually, we come to the platform where we understand that devotional service is highest spiritual destination. So before convincing anyone, we should ourselves be convinced that devotional service is the highest supreme destination. So there are three kind of realization that have already been discussed in the previous verses and the previous classes also, that Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavana, right? So through jnana, right? Through jnana, one achieves the when he realizes actually the Brahman, realization. So by jnana, we realize Brahman. And through yoga, one perceive Paramatma in the heart, right? And through devotional service, through bhakti, one understands and realizes Bhagwan or Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So this is very important that we understand this, that the supreme destination is bhakti, and supreme destination is bhakti, and how to achieve is through bhakti yoga, because all other processes are very arduous. Arduous means very difficult to follow, and we'll come to know that how it is that all these processes are so difficult to follow, because these particular processes that I spoke of, because jnana, because if you see, Vedic wisdom is divided into three categories or three branches, basically three kanda they say, right? So one is jnana kanda, and one is karma kanda, jnana kanda, and bhakti. So by these three, one can realize the supreme. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, and 11th verse, it is said, Vadanti tattva vidastatvam yajnanama advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti sabdyate. Right? So, learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. So there are three types of realization, right? Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan realization. So Brahman realization is actually understanding Lord as Brahma Jyoti or his bodily effulgence. And Paramatma is nothing but localized aspect which is sitting in everyone's heart, right? And by philosophical approach, one may ultimately come to the point of bhakti, and he has to actually. But philosophical approach is very arduous, as I told, that very difficult to do, because philosophical approach is not, if you see, I mean, in our Indian tradition, basically, and this philosophical approach is not just mental speculation, basically. It is following some philosophical processes as described in the Vedas. And we know that Vedas have six branches of philosophy, known as Shada Darshana. And these, branches of philosophy, they describe different processes. And these branches are namely Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, and two Mimamsas. Mimamsas are Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. So there are six branches of philosophies known as Shad Darshan. And again, this Vedic wisdom is divided into three branches: Kanda, or they called as kanda. Kanda means branches, right? So karma kanda, jnana kanda, and bhakti, right? So these branches are studied by various philosophical understandings, right? So these, branches of Vedic wisdom, as I told, karma, jnana, and bhakti are studied by all these philosophical understanding of these branches, basically. Uh, okay, and the karma kanda is analyzed by karma mimamsa, right, or pur mimamsa. It's called as preliminary conclusion, right, giving understanding of the karmic activities or karmic reaction. So pura mimamsa's conclusion is everyone wants to enjoy, and happiness is ultimately the fulfillment of desires, and one become happy when desires are fulfilled, right? So the Pur Mimamsa describes, or the Vedas part of Pur Mimamsa describes that how to act in ways that one can become happy. So there are certain, activities that has to be performed to gain something, right? So that is described in Purva Mimamsa or Karma Mimamsa, and that is called as preliminary conclusion. So here actually it is being described that if you do so and so yajna, then you will get such and such thing, right? If you want to have wealth, if you want to have kingdom, if you want to achieve something, then do this prescribed activities or karma, then you will get those destination. And even if you want to go to Swarga Loka, right, then you have to perform these kind of activities, and the resultant action will be you will get that particular destination, right? So if you want wealth, you have to do these kind of activities. If you want name and fame, you have to do these kind of activities, these karma kanda. So it is called as karma kanda. And the conclusion of this preliminary conclusion is called the Pur Mimamsa's, the meaning is preliminary conclusion. And the understanding is that everyone wants to enjoy. And even after enjoyment, I mean, because there are a lot of things you have to do in the prescribed way only, then only you can become happy, right? Because this is the ultimate aim here in this Karam Kanda, to become happy. But how to become happy? You have to follow the prescribed ways of Vedas, then only you can become happy, right? So just by having wealth, by, inappropriate means, you cannot have happiness, right? So suppose someone actually robs the bank, he have the wealth, but he will be caught after by the police and he will be put in the jail. So now he's not happy because he didn't follow the prescribed path of gaining wealth. So even if you want to gain wealth, you have to follow the prescribed ways of Vedas. Then only you can gain some happiness out of it. Otherwise, if you are not following proper means to gain, wealth or anything that can make you happy, then you will end up in miseries or sufferings. But it is said that even after enjoyment, one feels that there is no end to the suffering. Correct? Then it comes to the next branch of the philosophy, right? That why I am suffering, right? And that is called as jnana. That now actually you come to understand that, even after I enjoyed so much, and gained so much of wealth to make myself happy, still I am not feeling that pleasure, still I am not feeling that bliss. So why I am suffering? And there is a very beautiful example given in Vishnu Purana of Maharaj Yayati. So Maharaj Yayati was a very powerful king, and he was king of the whole earth, right? And he was having all facilities at his disposal, and he was enjoying like anything, right? He enjoyed, it is said that he enjoyed for lakhs of years in heaven, and after that he again fall down to earth, right? Because this is Shrine Punya Mrityu Loke Vishanti, right? So after the credits of pious activities over, one is again thrown back to the earthly planet, right? So when Maharaj Yayati, this is a big story, I'm just keeping it short to understand that even after actually, uh, enjoyed for a, big period of time, still you will not have, that contentment in your heart. And this is what happens with Maharaj Yayati. And in due course of time, when he became old, he asked his sons that who can give me, his youth, so that I, in turn, actually, I will make him the king of the entire earth kingdom, right? So he went to, one by one, he went to each of his sons and he asked for their youth. So uh, it is said that he was having four sons, and when he went to the elder one, he said that, okay, anyway, you are getting old and you are actually, now going to die. So why should I waste, my youth? Why should I give my youth to you? Because youth is, because that when I was child, I suffered that, so many things. I just want to enjoy because I was waiting to become youth so that I can enjoy. So now when I became youth, you are asking my youth, I cannot give it to you, right? So similarly, he went to other, sons as well, two sons as well, and they also denied and gave some certain reasons for it. And then when he went to Puru, then Puru actually accepted, and he said that, yes, father, actually, I will give you my youth, and now you can enjoy, right? So as soon as Puru gave his youth to Maharaj Yayati, who was very old, and he became young, and Puru, who actually gave his youth, he became old. So Maharaj Yayati, actually it is said that he enjoyed for 1,000 years, and after 1,000 years enjoying, right, he actually married to, heavenly apsaras as well in this 1,000 years, and he enjoyed, and you know after the end of 1,000 years he came to know that now my youth is, because whatever I have taken, I have, I have give back to my son, right? And when he actually thought in this way, and he immediately went to his son and he told that, my dear son, since you have followed, my instructions and you accepted my request, I will make you the king of the earth, king of earth, right? And now, actually, I just want to tell you that after enjoying so much, and because I enjoyed in my prime, and now actually I took your youth and I enjoyed in the same way for 1,000 years. And even after enjoying 1,000 years, still I'm having no contentment in my heart, right? Still, my desire to satisfy my senses is still as strong as they were earlier, right? They are not yet satisfied. But since my time has come to go to the heavenly abode, because he was a very pious king, he never actually, committed any, wrong activities in his life. So he awarded with the heavenly kingdom, to stay in heavens. And when he left, he actually gave these words of wisdom to his son Puru. So, from Maharaj Yayati's example, we can understand that even if we actually enjoy for thousands of years, right, still the tendency to enjoy never actually get subside, right? So, it is same as you keep on putting the fuel into the fire and you expect the fire to be extinguished. That will never happen, right? So if we keep on satisfying our senses and we think that the day will come when my all the senses will get satisfied, they will get contained, and then actually I will went into the mode where I can do my devotional service to the Lord. So it will never happen. So now actually coming back to this you know that when how Jnana Kanda explains that why I am suffering basically. So that actually leading to the another branch of the philosophy, that is Nyaya or logic. So by logic we try to understand that why I am suffering, right? Because Lord also say, yeah, what is a Brahma Bhuna Loka Punaravartano Arjuna Mamupetya Konteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. Shipram Bhavati Dharmatma Shashwatam Shantim Nigachati Konteha Pratijani Name Bhakta. And Lord says this world is what? Brahma Bhuna Loka Punaravartano Arjuna. From this world, this earthly planet to the planets of Brahma Loka, right? We keep on traveling to one aloka to another, and as soon as we come back to this mrityu loka, so there is no reprieve from this particular suffering. We keep on traveling from one loka to another, and as per our karmic activities, we get the next destination. So now this particular world, right? That why I am suffering. So this logic actually needs to the philosophical branch known as Naya or logic. So by logic, we try to understand that why I am suffering. And the conclusion of this philosophy is that this whole world is full of suffering, because Lord Himself is saying that the nature of this world is what? Dukhalayam asashvatam. So since this world is made like that, it is a world of suffering only. So dukhalayam. Right? So it is very clear that any part of the body, right? No matter how much you try to give pleasure, because there are many ways by you can inflict pain to your body, right? Suppose your earlobe, right? You can cut it through, Caesar. You can smash it through stone, right? And there are many ways by which you can actually inflict pain to the ear, but how many ways by which you can give pleasure to the your ear? There are non-existent, right, the ways to give pleasure to your ear by any ways, by any external mean, you cannot do it. So there are many ways by which we can pain can be inflicted on the body, but there are many ways to inflict pain on the body, but there are very rarely actually the ways are available to give pleasure to the body externally, right? So yantra rudani maya. So this whole human form of body is actually is meant for uh, getting pain only. It's not meant for getting pleasure, right? So one has to come to this understanding that there are very less ways of coming, coming to that conclusion that this particular body is meant for pleasure. Because this ultimately we need to understand that this body is meant for suffering only. So when one comes to this understanding that yes, this body is actually meant for suffering, then actually he comes to this conclusion that I have to get out of it, right? So as we understood this, now, this world we came to know that this is Dukhalayam. Then what is this world? What is the nature of this world? Right? So to know that actually there is one branch of the philosophy that is known as Vaisheshika. Right? Now, once when one come to this understanding the what is the nature of this world, what is this world, right? Then comes the next branch of the philosophy is known as Samkhya philosophy or Sankhya philosophy, right? So, in that particular branch of philosophy, it is analytical study. So, here actually it is said that five basic elements and the five senses, when they interact, right, then actually the five objects are formed, right? And how 24 elements are described, I'm just keeping it short. And 24 elements in totality are being discussed in Samkhya philosophy. And ultimately, the aim is to understand that what is the conclusion, right? So the conclusion of Sankhya philosophy is that when the senses actually comes in the contact of sense objects, right? So now they actually interact, and then actually it leads to further complication in karmic activities. And now it is said that, and it is also said in Samkhya philosophy that we are Anu, right? And since we are Amsha, then we Amshi need to be there, right? And then actually it comes to the conclusion that the God is there who's actually part and parcel, whose part and parcel are the living entities, right? Similarly, and this particular aspect that when Lord and the living entities are there, then how they can unite, right? So that branch of philosophy which study the yoga of the Vibhu and Anu, or God or the living entity, that is called as yoga philosophy given by Patanjali, right? And that actually described the Ashtanga yoga system, right? The 8 limbs of yogic system, right? So here actually, it is described that how, these eightfold yogic system can help one to unite with the Supreme Personality of God. And that is actually the ultimate aim of the, uh, aim of this life, right? So when this particular aspect of Patanjali Yoga, where 8 limbs are there, right? Yama, Niyam, Asan, uh, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. So they are 8 processes. So when you follow them properly, at the end, actually, when one actually come into the trance or the Samadhi, then actually he can realize Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is in the Paramatma realization, basically, right? And because this is uh, the culmination of yogic process, right? So it start with the Yama Niyama, is the list of do's and don'ts, right? So this is what you should do, Yam and Niyama. Then actually it comes to the asana. So asana is the postures of the body, and the ultimate aim of these postures is to actually make oneself eligible for the next step, and that is pranayama, right? So nowadays, actually, whatever the yoga system we see, I mean, the so-called yoga is limited to asana only, right? So people actually do not follow the yama and niyama, and they directly do the asana, right? And they think that this is the yoga. This is not yoga. Because yoga is ultimately to unite with Supreme Personality of Godhead to realize the Paramatman feature of the Supreme Personality of God. That is the aim of yogic philosophy or yoga philosophy, right? So nowadays, actually, it is just limited to asana. So when you are follow yam and niyam, the do's and don'ts, then you come to the platform of asana, then you practice the postures, different postures, then you come to the pranayam, then you control your breathe, or you it's a breathing process. So you master the breathing, that is called as pranayama. Then there are so many others, what you call as concepts are associated with pranayama, like kumbhak and rich, and how many times you should hold the breath in your lungs, and after keeping the breath for so many time, then how you should actually again exhale and inhale. So inhaling and exhaling in the proper way, in the described as described in the Vedas, right? That is pranayam. Once you perfect the pranayam stage, then you come to the stage of pratyahar. Pratyahar means to uh, you know this controlling senses and cessation of sense objects and the senses, right? And when this relationship is broken, right, when you actually uh, keep yourself away from the food of your senses, the pratyahara. Ahar means the sense objects, basically, or the food of senses, right? So when you keep your senses away from their objects, that is called as pratyahara, right? So that is again very difficult, right? We may think that, we may think that we are very expert in doing that, right? We can actually, keep our eyes closed, and we can actually concentrate on, Supreme Personality Godhead. But it is very difficult, right? You can close your, you can close your eyes, but you can't close your ears, right? You can close your mouth. You may actually, rest in, and you can control your breathing process, right? But you cannot control ears, right? The sound will definitely come, right? And we know the example of Vishwamitra Muni, right? He was very expert in yogic process, right? And he actually so expert that he actually, having such control on Gayatri mantra, that whenever he actually, uh, want to have darshan of Mata Gayatri, he will just invoke those prayers, and the Gayatri Mata will come and give her darshan. So that was the power of Vishwamitra Muni, right? So he was having so much control on all of his senses, right? But we know that, he just heard, the sound of anklets, right, of Menaka, and he got agitated or disturbed, basically. And he just opened his eyes, and from where this beautiful sound is coming, right? When he saw Menaka, we know the rest, right? What happened. So we need to understand that these yogic processes are very difficult, very orders actually. No ordinary person can actually follow them properly, right? So after this pratyahara, right? I spoke about yama, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, and then actually it comes dhyana. So then actually you meditate upon the object, that is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then actually you come to the platform of dharana. Then you are have this particular dharana, and now you are established in your meditation. That is called as dharana. And now the next step is samadhi. Then in samadhi stage, very rarely actually one yogi can reach there, right? Because we know that all these processes, of yogic processes, he need to become expert in those, then only he can move to the next stage. Now in samadhi, actually, one who actually get control over his senses and everything, and he's perfect in his meditation, then only he can have the darshan of Supreme Personality of God, and the Paramatma realization he can, right? So that's why it's said in Srimad Bhagavatam that Muktanam api siddhanam Narayana Parayana Sudurlabha Prasannatma Koteshwapi Mahamune. So even those who are mukta, because mukta is liberated souls, right? Those who are talking about, those who have realized Brahman, right? Or those who have realized Brahman in the localized form and the Paramatma also, right? They also, sometimes people aspire for liberation or mukti. right? Even among those Siddha yogis or the liberated souls, very rarely actually one become the devotee of the Lord. And that's why it is said in Koteshwapi Mahamuni. Koteshwapi meaning crore, right? In millions, actually, one become the devotee of the Lord. So now we can see that how fortunate we are that we actually got this process of devotional service in our life. So when we give this example that this all yogic processes, whatever we see, the 8 limbs, Ashtanga Yoga, it's very difficult to follow. But ultimately, this culminates into the Paramatma realization. So now, as we speak, this particular verse, actually, the translation, we see that philosophical research culminates into the understanding of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after achieving this understanding, when one becomes free from the material modes of nature, he attains the stage of devotional service. So now we can see that after, Purva Mimamsa, right? Then it comes to the understanding that why I am suffering, correct? And, Nyaya, and then again Vaisheshika, then Samkhya, then Yoga, then Purmimamsa. Purmimamsa is nothing but culmination of all the yogic processes and all everything, and it is the process which describes about the importance of devotional service. So now, either by devotional service directly you can actually go to the first floor, right? Or you follow this philosophical research one by one, but one has to find the same destination. One has to come to the terrace, right? So either you take step by steps or you take the elevator. Ultimately, you have to come to the same destination, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one cannot actually bypass either elevator or steps, right, to reach the supreme destination. You understand? So now, one who is actually want to know that who is Lord and how I can meet with him, how can I unite with him. So when one have this kind of jigyasa in his mind, the curiosity, right, then only he can start this process. But whatever the process he takes, as described in Vedas, any limb or any branch of Vedic philosophy, whether it is Purmimamsa or it is Uttar Mimamsa or Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, Samkhya, whatever the Vedic process that is described in our philosophical tradition, any Shada darshan we take, ultimately it culminates because ultimately it culminates to the understanding that the Supreme Personality is the summum bonum of all yogic processes, all Vedic philosophy. So ultimately, whatever you are doing, whatever the way you have taken, it should reach to the understanding and realization of Supreme Personality of Godhead, in whether it is in Brahman realization, Paramatma or Bhagavana. But Bhagavana is the ultimate realization. And that's actually the devotional service. So without serving the Lord, without serving the devotees of the Lord, one cannot actually comes to that platform of devotional service. So when one do that, right? So that actually being glorified here, the devotional service. Because devotional service is an elevator actually, because it is said that the purpose of a well, right? Purpose of a well is, can easily be done by ocean, right? So why there is need of another thing, right? So when everything is can be done by devotional service, then there is no need of taking any other process, right? So those who are sumedhasa, those who are intelligent, they take up to the process of devotional service because they are very wise, right? That's why in this age of Kali, those who are actually aspiring to unite with the Lord or to know the absolute truth, they must follow the process of devotional service. Whether you are looking for any material benefit, right? Whether you are looking for liberation, whether you are looking for, or you don't have any kind of desire, right? So this is what it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, अकामो सर्व कामो वा मोक्ष काम उदारधि तीव्रेण भक्ति योगेन यजेत पुरुषम परम. If you don't have any akama, you don't have any desire. Sakama means you have all the desires of the world, that I want this, this, and that. And akamo sakamava moksha kama. Even if you want liberation, then what an intelligent person udaradhi should do? Tivrena bhakti yogena yajet purusham param. Then that particular person should actually, with all his force, he should actually apply himself into the devotional service, right? So here actually we ends, and if you have any question, then I can take one. I think we are good. Thank you very much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. अमल पुराण श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. शील प्रभुपाद की जय. शील गुरुदेव की जय. समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. निताई गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि.